Welcome back to another round of science versus superstitions. In previous live stream, we tackled everything detox cleanses to sugar highs. Okay, but even after 20 minutes, there are still plenty of health misconceptions out there, alive and thriving in group chats, TikTok videos, and even dinner table conversations. So, today we are taking on the myths from number 1 to number 10. Get ready because once again we are separating what sounds right from what's scientifically true. So, let's start off with myth number 1. Cracking your neck causes a stroke. Okay, so don't crack your neck, you could have a stroke. It's a terrifying warning passed around every few years. But what the actual science shows is ordinary casual neck cracking is not going to cause a stroke in healthy individuals. The specific medical concern is cervical artery dissection, a rare tear in the neck arteries that can lead to clot formation. So, how do we know this? A 2023 review in Frontiers Neurology found that most of these cases follow severe trauma or extreme sudden manipulation, such as high velocity chiropractic twist, not everyday stretching or self cracking. The risk is extremely rare. So, stretch carefully, but you don't need to panic every time your neck pops. Okay, so let's move on to myth number 2, that is, sitting too close to a TV ruins your eyesight. So, what many people believe, every 90s kid remembers being told, don't sit too close, you'll ruin your eyes. Right? But what the actual science shows is that sitting close may cause temporary eye strain, dryness, or fatigue, but it does not cause permanent damage. Children often sit close simply because they can focus clearly at shorter distances. So, the American Academy of Ophthalmology confirms this myth is completely unfounded. Eye strain is temporary, eye damage is not. So, your childhood TV habits didn't ruin your eyes, but they may have made you love cartoons a bit too much. So let's move on to myth number 3, that is, you must have a bowel movement every day. So in this case, many people believe, a lot of people think they are backed up or unhealthy if they didn't have a bowel movement daily. So the actual science shows that regular does not mean daily. Most doctors define normal frequency as anywhere from 3 times a day to 3 times a week. So, how do we know this? So, gastrologist at the Cleveland Clinic and other institution emphasizes that consistency matters more than frequency. What is important is how you feel. If are you comfortable and not straining, your system is working normally. So your intestines aren't on a daily schedule, they are on your schedule. So let's move on to myth number 4, that is the 5-second rule keeps food safe. So if you drop food on the floor, you can pick it up within 5 seconds and it will be safe to eat. So let's see what the science shows us. So science shows us that bacteria transfer happens almost instantly, especially to moist food. The 5-second rule does not prevent contamination. So, a 2016 Reuters University study found that wet foods picked up bacteria within half a second. So, the real rule is simple: if it hits the floor, it's dirty. Sorry, but the 5-second rule is about as real as a 5-minute workout miracle. So let's move on to myth number 5, that is, if you swallow gum, it stays in your stomach for 7 years. Okay, so this playground classic warns that if you swallow gum, the indigestible base will stick in your stomach for 7 years. Okay, so what the science actually shows is that gum base is indigestible, yes, but your body moves it along just like fiber and other non-nutritive materials. It passes through the digestive tract in a few days, not years. So, gastrology case studies show gum only causes issues when swallowed in exceptionally large quantities or in individuals with chronic constipation. For the average person, it passes smoothly. So, go ahead. If you accidentally swallow gum, your stomach isn't turning into a bubble machine. Okay. So let's move on to myth number 6, that is, you can catch STDs from toilet seats. So, what many people believe, a widespread myth, claims that sexually transmitted disease can be acquired by sitting on a public toilet seat. So, the science shows us that you cannot get STDs from toilet seats. Viruses like HIV, herpes, and HPV cannot survive long outside the body, especially on dry, cold surfaces. They require direct skin or mucosal contact for transmission. So how we know this? The CDC and other health organizations confirm that no credible cases exist of STI transmission from toilets. The survival time of these viruses on surfaces is typically seconds to minutes. So, the seat might be uncomfortable, but it's not contagious. Let's move on to myth number 7, that is, you need milk for strong bones as an adult. So, drink your milk, it's good for your bones. Many people believe they need to consume large amounts of dairy as adult to maintain strong bones. But what the actual science shows is that while milk is great for children building bone mass, the benefit for adult is limited. Once peak bone mass is built, extra calcium and dairy don't significantly increase bone strength or prevent fractures. So, a Harvard meta analysis found that countries with the highest Dairy consumption didn't have lower fracture rates. Strong bones need vitamin D, exercises, and a balanced diet, not gallons of milk. So, a glass of milk is fine, but your skeleton doesn't need a refill every hour. So let's move on to myth number 8, that is dehydration only happens in hot weather. So everyone associates dehydration with summer heat, forgetting that cold weather poses a significant risk as well. So, what the actual science shows us is that cold air can dry you out because humidity drops and your body's natural first responses decreases by up to 40% in cold conditions. You can be significantly dehydrated even if you don't feel thirsty. So, research from the US Army Institute of Environmental Medicine shows significant winter dehydration in subjects performing even light activity in cold climate. We lose a lot of water through breathing cold, dry air. So, next time you hit the slopes, pack water, not just cacao. Let's move on to myth number 9, that is, if it's herbal, it can't hurt you. Yes, so natural equals safe. This is a foundational but dangerous myth in modern wellness culture. What the actual science says about this is many herbal supplements are safe, but other can cause serious harm or interact dangerously with prescription drugs. Example include kava and comfrey, which can damage the liver, and ephedra, which can raise heart rate and blood pressure. So, the NIH and FDA warned that natural products are not tested for purity or potency before sale. They can contain incorrect dosages, contaminants, or unlisted ingredients. So, nature heals, but it can also harm. Always tell your doctor what you take. Let's move on to myth number 10, that is, you can train your immune system by constantly getting sick. Okay, so what many people believe, the last one, some people claim that getting frequent infections trains and strengthens your immune system. So, the science says that that's not how immunity works. Your immune system learns through controlled exposure like vaccines, not uncontrolled illnesses. Each infection risks severe complications and long term damage to organs or tissues. So, research from the CDC and institution like Johns Hopkins shows that vaccine safely mimic infection, allowing your body to create memory cells without experiencing the full disease and its risk. Your immune system doesn't need chaos, it needs education. So, as we are at our conclusion, 10 more myths gone. Because science isn't about believing or disbelieving, It's about testing what we think we know, from your neck to your nutrition, your brain to your bones. The truth is always more fascinating than the fiction. If you learned something new till now, hit the like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who still quotes the 5-second rule. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and remember, evidence beats intuition every time. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more valuable insights on health, revalidation, and interesting topics in healthcare. So, it's time for live Q&A session where I will answer the health related questions which are coming from our live healthy community. So, let me tell you, it's an honor to solve your health related queries, from nutrition, sleep, simple hacks to live a healthy lifestyle, disease prevention, everything. I feel so blessed to be able to help you to live a healthy lifestyle. So once again, thank you so much guys for asking these questions. So let's answer our first question from our subscriber. So let's see our first question. And our first question is, what is the simplest hack to lower blood pressure instantly? So, isometric hand grips, exercises, squeezing a stress ball, or just clenching your fist for 2 minutes 4 times a day, it improves endothelial function. It's cheaper than medication and lets you legally take out your aggression on a rubber ball. Thanks for that question. I hope that helps. So there is another question. So we'll get to that. And that is, how do I prevent a heart attack without becoming a marathon runner? So it's the rule of 4. No smoking, maintain a healthy weight, exercise 30 minutes a day, and eat a Mediterranean diet. This lowers risk by 80%. Your heart isn't fragile vase, but don't treat it like a rental car either. Let's move on to another question. Is cholesterol actually the enemy? Not all of it. You need cholesterol to make hormones and cell walls. The enemy is oxidized LDL, which is also called bad cholesterol. It is caused by sugar and inflammation. Cholesterol is like a construction crew. You need them to build the house. You just don't want them blocking the driveway. So let's move on to another question. Does cold water therapy actually do anything for my heart? So yes, a cold shower increases dopamine and circulation. However, if you have a pre-existing heart condition, the shock can be dangerous. It makes you feel like a Viking. Also, you will be too busy shivering to worry about your mortgage. Let's move on to another question, that is, why am I always out of breath on stairs if I'm fit? Okay. So, stairs require a sudden spike in anaerobic energy. Even runners get winded because their bodies are used to steady states, not vertical sprints. Don't worry, the stairs are just humbling you. The gravity's way of saying hello. Let's move on to another question, that is, what is the single most dangerous food for gut health? It is ultra processed food. They contain emulsifiers that strip away the protective mucus layer of your gut, leading to inflammation. If ingredients list looks like a chemistry exam and the food never rots, don't eat it. Let's move on to another question, that is, why do I get bloated after eating healthy vegetables? It's like food maps, fermentable carbs in things like broccoli and onions. Your gut bacteria are having a party and creating gas. So you're not fat, you're just filled with air. You're basically a human balloon animal. So let's move on to another question, that is, do I really need probiotics or it is a scam? So pills are often a waste of money because the stomach acid kills them. Fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, and kefir are 10 times better. Eat foods that smell like old gym socks, your gut loves them. Let's move on to another question, that is fasting actually good for digestion? Yes, it triggers the migrating motor complex, which is a wave that sweeps your intestine clean. Constant snacking, stop this cleaning crew. Give your stomach a lunch break. It's been working a double shift since 1995. Let's move on to another question, that is, why does coffee make me poop instantly? Coffee stimulates the distal colon and increases gastrin levels, which gets things moving. It's the only alarm clock that wakes up your brain and your bowels. So I hope that helps. We'll move on to another question, that is, how do I stop a panic attack in 60 seconds? The psychological sigh, two quick inhales through the nose, one long exhale through the mouth. It offloads carbon dioxide and slows the heart. It it basically breathing version of have you tried turning it off and on again? Let's move on to other question, that is, what creates the best long term memory? So, your brain consolidates memories from the hippocampus to the cortex during sleep. Pulling an all nighter to study is like trying to save a Word document while unplugging the computer. So, let's move on to another question. Does sugar actually make kids hyperactive? No, that is the sugar rush myth. Study shows it's usually the excitement of the party environment, not the sugar. The kid isn't high on cake, the kid is just a kid. Let's move on to another question. How can I increase cognitive ability naturally? So, learn a new skill, language, instrument, it increases neuroplasticity. Sudoku is just practice. New skills build new roads in the brain. Your brain is like a muscle. If you only lift the same weight, watch Netflix, it gets flabby. Let's move on to another question, that is, why does scrolling on my phone makes me depressed? So, it fires your dopamine receptors. High stimulation followed by a drop creates a chemical, low dysphoria. Your brain wasn't designed to process the opinions of 5,000 strangers before breakfast. Let's move on to another question, that is, it's salt bad for me? Only if you are salt sensitive or eat processed food. For healthy people, too little salt is actually dangerous. Real salt contains essential electrolytes. Don't fear the salt shake, fear the Doritos bag. Let's move on to another question. What is the biggest lie about weight loss? Exercise burns off fat. You can't outrun a bad diet. Weight loss is 90% hormonal dietary and 10% movement. A 3-mile run burns off one Snickers bar. Choose your battles. Let's move on to another question. Should I quit gluten? Only if you have celiac disease or non celiac gluten sensitivity. Otherwise, you are missing out on fiber and vitamin B. Gluten isn't Satan, it's just whey protein. Okay. Sorry for that. I just had a little cold from last night. So, without further ado, we will go on to another question. That is, why am I always hungry even after eating? You aren't eating enough protein or fiber. Carbs spike blood sugar, which crashes and signals hunger again. Protein signals satiety. You just ate a bagel, which is basically a circular circle of sugar. Eat an egg. Let's move on to another question. Is breakfast the most important meal of the day? That was a marketing slogan by cereal companies. Intermittent fasting is perfectly healthy for most. If you aren't hungry at 8 am, don't force feed yourself toast. Let's move on to another question. That is, does cracking knuckles cause arthritis? No, that noise is just gas bubbles popping in the synovial fluid. One doctor cracked his left hand for 60 years and not the right. No difference. The only thing it hurt is the person sitting next to who hates the sound. Let's move on to another question. That is, how do I fix bad posture? Strengthen your back rhomboids, not just stand up straight. If the muscles are weak, you'll slump again in 5 minutes. Your body molds the shape of the chair you sit in for 8 hours. You are becoming a shrimp. Let's move on to another question. Do I need 10,000 steps a day? No, 7,000 or 8,000 is the sweet spot for longevity. 10,000 was a number made up to sell Japanese pedometers in the 1960s. Walk more, but don't pace around your living room at 11 pm like a ghost just to hit a number. The next question is, why does my back hurt when I wake up? Your mattress is likely too soft or your core is too weak. You spend 1/3 of your life in bed. If your mattress is a taco shape, your spine will be a taco shape. Let's move on to another question. If lifting heavy weights dangerous for older people? No, it's essential. Sarcopenia, muscle loss, is a primary cause of nursing home admissions. Resistant training builds bone density. Grandma needs to lift maybe not 300 lbs, but she needs to lift. Let's move on to another question. Should we stop worrying about fevers? Generally, yes, a mild fever is the body's oven cooking the virus. Suppressing it with meds immediately can actually prolong the illness. Let it burn a little. Your immune system is making bonfire. Don't pour water on it immediately. Let's move on to the next question. Does vitamin C actually cure a cold? No, it might shorten it by half a day if you take it before you get sick. Zinc is more effective once you are sick. Oranges are tasty, but they aren't magic wands. So, the other question is, can I boost my immune system? You don't want a boosted immune system. That's called an autoimmune disease slash allergy. You want a balanced one. If your immune system gets too excited, it starts attacking your own body. Tell it to chill. Let's move on to another question. Why do I get sick when I finally go on vacation? The let down effect. Stress hormones, cortisols, keep you running, but they suppress immunity. When you relax, cortisol drops and the bugs attack. Your body held it together for the deadline, then collapsed at the sight of a beach. Let's move on to another question. Is hand sanitizer better than soap? No, sanitizer kills bacteria, but soap physically washes them and viruses off your hands. Soap destroys the liquid shell of viruses. Soap is the goat, sanitizer is just the backup dancer. Sorry, we'll move on to the next question, that is, how do I wake up at 3 a.m. every night? Cortisol spike or blood sugar drop. If you drank alcohol, the rebound effect happens around 3 a.m. It's the witching hour, or maybe just that glass of wine coming back to haunt you. Let's move on to another question. Is melatonin safe to take every night? Not really, it's a hormone, not a vitamin. Taking a high doses can downgrade your body's own production. Use it for jet lag only. Don't outsource your hormones unless you have to. Let's move on to another question. How long should a nap be? 20 minutes power nap or 90 minutes full cycle. Anything in between causes sleep inertia, grogginess. Nap for 45 minutes and you'll wake up not knowing what year it is. Okay, yes, so we'll move on to the next question, that is, why am I tired even though I slept 8 hours? Sleep quality, sleep quantity, sleep apnea, mouth breathing, or scrolling phone before bed ruins the depth of the sleep. You slept, but your brain was basically in standby mode, not shut down. Let's move on to another question. Does mouth taping actually work? Yes, it forces nasal breathing, which increases nitric oxide and oxygen uptake. It prevents dry mouth and snoring. You look like a hostage, but you sleep like a baby. Let's move on to another question. What is the number one anti-aging product? UV rays causes 80% of visible skin aging. Photoaging retinol is number 2. You can buy 500 ice cream, but if you bake in the sun, you'll still look like a leather handbag. Let's move on to another question. Does shaving makes hair grow back thicker? Myth. It just gives the hair a blunt tip so it feels closer. If shaving made hair thicker, bald men would just shave their heads to cure baldness. Let's move on to another question. Why is my hair falling out? Could be stress, thyroid issues, or low iron. It happens 3 months after a stressful event. Your hair isn't a drama queen. It gets stressed and quits its job 90 days later. Let's move on to another question. Does chocolate causes acne? Usually it's the dairy and sugar in the chocolate, not the cacao itself. High glycemic food causes sebum spikes. Dark chocolate is innocent. Milk chocolate is the troublemaker. Let's move on to another question. That is detoxing real? No, you have a liver and kidneys. If they aren't detoxing you, you need a hospital, not a juice cleanse. Your body isn't a dirty carpet. You don't need a stream clean. Let's move on to the next question. Is sitting the new smoking? Sedentary behavior increases mortality risk. Your metabolism basically shuts off when you sit for hours. Your glutes are asleep and your blood is turning to sludge. Stand up. Let's move on to the next question. Why do I get a headache when I skip caffeine? Caffeine constricts blood vessels. When you stop, they dilate, means expand, causing pressure in the head. Congratulations, you are chemically dependent. Welcome to the club. Let's move on to the next question. Can stress actually give me an ulcer? Not directly. Bacteria H. pylori causes ulcer, but stress weakens the immune system, allowing the bacteria to do damage. Stress doesn't eat a hole in your stomach, but it opens the door for the bacteria that do. Let's move on to the next question. What is the best way to cure a hangover? Electrolytes and time. Alcohol is a diuretic. You are severely dehydrated and your liver is processing poison. There is no cure. This is the price for fun. Let's move on to the next question. Should I brush my teeth immediately after eating? No. Acid softens enamel. If you brush right away, you scrub the enamel off. Wait 30 minutes. Don't sandblast your teeth while they are soft. Let's move on to the next question. Is heavy sweating a sign of good workout? No. Sweating is cooling, not calorie burning. You burn fat without sweating and sweat buckets without burning fat. You can sweat sitting in a sauna, eating pizza. It doesn't count as cardio. Let's move on to another question. Why is belly fat so hard to lose? Visceral fat has more cortisol receptors. Stress makes your body hold on to belly fat as a survival mechanism. Your body is saving that fat for a famine that is never coming. Let's move on to the next question. Does reading in the dark hurt eyes? No, it causes strain, tiredness, but not damage. Your eyes aren't cameras. They won't break just because the lighting is bad. Okay, so let's see if we have another question. Yes, we have. That is, how much water do I actually need? So, that is the question from our subscribers. So, drink when you are thirsty. The 8 glasses a day rule is outdated. Check your urine, pale yellow is perfect. And if your pee looks like apple juice, drink water. If it's clear, stop drowning yourself. Okay, let's move on to another question, which is, what is the single best I can do for my health right now? Okay, so you can prioritize social connection. Loneliness isn't deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Call a friend, go for a walk. We are pack animals, not lone wolves. So, as you know, guys, I would like to say this video is for or treatment. So, that's the end of this live stream. If you found this live stream helpful, give it a like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more science backed tip. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.